This week is International Day of People with Disabilities, actually on the 3rd of December. And today, talking with a remarkable woman. She is as part of the team at Disability Connect, but is also the mother of two adult sons with autism. Asoka Gamage-Mendis joining me in the studio. Kia ora, thank you for your time today.
Kia ora. Thank you for having me.
Talk to us about your own story. I mean, we're going to get into some of the joys and challenges that that being a parent of disabled adult children brings, but give us your background, your story up until this point.
I was born in a small village in Sri Lanka and brought up in a family of a lot of extended adults and in a tribal community. And moved to the USA soon after my postdoctoral and was spending a couple of years at Johns Hopkins doing research fellow work on malaria. And then that was along with my kid's father. And then had my two kids and moved to Mozambique in Africa. We were laying foundation for a possible malaria vaccine to come and doing the groundwork there, and realized that both our boys are on the autism spectrum. And that was the point I had to stop and reassess my life because it was such a shock. And then I moved back home to my parents because the emotional toll was just... I just couldn't cope, and neither could my husband, but we had to have a means of to sustain ourselves, so he continued to work. I gave up my job, and I moved back home to Sri Lanka, where I'm originally from, and stayed with my parents for 2 years and tried to bring up the boys and educate the boys there, which wasn't very successful, and then decided to move to New Zealand. Purely for the boys' sake. And we've been here for about 25 years now. And we love living in New Zealand, and it is home.
Wow, that's good. Thank you so much for that. Tell me about your boys, each one of them, and what makes them special to you.
So my older boy is Sasanka. His name means full moon. Is 16 months older than my younger boy Endika, which means the rainbow. They are both two young men on the autism spectrum, but they are as different as chalk and cheese. Because if you meet a person with autism, you meet just one person with autism because they are very individual. So the needs of my older boy he's different to my younger one. My older boy is working part-time as a library assistant, and he has his own challenges. He also has a vision impairment. But my younger boy is mid to low functioning. He needs 24/7 care in the sense that he doesn't understand much about what's going on in life, but otherwise he can walk, talk. By talking, that doesn't necessarily mean he can have a conversation like you and I are having, Andrew. He can talk, but his comprehension, it's not as like us. So he's pretty much needing care all the time. But they all bring their joys into my life. My younger boy has a beautiful voice. He narrates books. He has his little YouTube channel, and he sings and performs as an MC at various events, at various disability events, I must say. And at this point, I must say that a big thank you to Mike from Disability Connect, because he really encourages my boys to be the best at what they are. So, and my older boy absolutely loves, the three of us loves books. We've been brought up with books. I have been, and they are too. So he's actually working at his very happy place in the books, among the books.
It's so good to talk about the joys of it, because even the phrase disability, it automatically focus on the negative aspects and the challenges, and the challenges are real. We'll talk about those in just a moment. But I suppose important to recognise the joys, the value of your boys as individuals, what brings them joy, and the joy that they can bring to other people. So important, isn't it?
Yes, very much so. I think, like everybody else, the moment you get this medical diagnosis, it just hits you like a ton of bricks. And you don't know where to go, what to do. Nobody comes out with a manual and says, you are here. This is what you do. And the setup here in New Zealand, and I'm talking about when I compare it to my experiences overseas in different countries. I mean, even in countries like USA and South Africa. Over here in New Zealand, we have a really good setup. But whether that works or not is another story. But even then, it's good to have a system. Somebody has thought about it, and there is room to make it better. So yes, living here in New Zealand, I think is the perfect place for my boys and I, and it's a good place to live, I must say.
It is. I suppose one of the things about autism, I'm glad that you brought this out, when you meet somebody with autism, you've met one person. It is very much an individual condition, and part of the challenge of having a system is systems tend to want to treat everybody the same and go, okay, this is what your needs will be. I know at Disability Connect, and we'll talk about this in a moment, just the opportunity to treat everybody as an individual, to be very specific about what their needs are and how people can get the support. That can be challenging, even with the best intentions, with the best systems, right?
Yes, it is. But you have to be aware that systems are there, and within the system, I think it's the people who work the system. So my feeling is that those who are there working within the system need to be sensitive enough to work the system right for the people. But I do understand you can't, otherwise there won't be a system. Whether we like it or not, there has to be some sort of framework.
Structure.
But that whether it's rigid or flexible, I think that depends on who comes and executes it. Like, for instance, when a child is suspected, when the parents first suspect that there's something wrong with their child, he's different to my 5-year-old, is different to my friend's 5-year-old. So the first protocol is you go to your GP, and then probably the GP will ask you to go see a specialist, take him to Starship, and then once you get a diagnosis, that and say your child has been pronounced, and I'm saying with air quotes because it is, and for the rest of their lives, that's going to be there.
For some people, they struggle with the diagnosis because it, in some ways, it is imposing a sentence upon them. It's putting a label on the child.
It is.
And I know of one person who said when they said, "Oh, this is the name of the condition that your child has," their response was, "Well, actually, I call them by this name and they're used to it. Given that it's an individual condition, why do we need the labels?" They can be helpful, do you think, though?
Yes. But before that, I can tell you both my boys, one, I had to get diagnosed. And the reason the diagnosis is important, because without that, you do not get access to any sort of funding. But with my older boy, I made the decision that I'm not going to label him. And that in itself was a challenge, because the times when it came to, especially in high school, when he needed support, I couldn't access any support, any funding, because he had no diagnosis. And up to that point, telling him that you're okay, you're not on the spectrum, when I knew that he was. So that was a decision that I made. It can be challenging, but each to their own. But sometimes I have met adults who have had an adult diagnosis and just say like, "Oh my God, why didn't I do this before?" So this is what it was. It wasn't me. All my quirkiness is not due to me. It's due to this condition that I have.
Yeah.
But with the system that we have, if a family is to get some support, they need a diagnosis, a medical diagnosis at that. So again, we are going back to how systems work.
Yeah. Talk to us about, I suppose, the challenges, not just the challenges of getting the support, but I suppose the processing. You talked a little bit about this beforehand. When you realised that something was different with your boys, it really rocked you. It meant a grieving process that some parts of your life were going to be very different from now on.
Yes.
That process of adjustment, really, really difficult.
It's somewhere in the internet, I'm sure everybody could access this. There is a small article written by a mother called, it's about planning a trip to Italy, but landing in Netherlands.
Yeah.
But I would, loving both countries, I would not go there, but I would say planning a trip to a tropical island.
Yeah.
And then ending up in either the Sahara or in a snowy desert.
Yeah, yeah.
But what happens is after a while, A, because you have no other option, B, because once you settle down, you also tend to see that, let's say I was stranded in a snowy island somewhere. Yeah. I would appreciate the snow, the beauty of it.
Make the most of where life takes you. Yeah.
So it's kind of like that, but it takes time. But in between, and sometimes all the time for some parents, it goes up, it goes down. And it's so important to have people supporting you, particularly the parents going through supporting you.
This is a bit of a sensitive one, but it is a reality of it. For a lot of parents who are parents of special needs adults, they are solo parents. One parent just isn't able to cope. They're not able to adapt to the changes, to the disappointment of life not turning out the way that they thought, perhaps. That's also part of your story as well.
Yes, it is. Although I am married, I've been married for 40 years. But the moment my child was diagnosed, my younger boy was 2.5 years. He's not here, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind me sharing this story. The two of us took our children to about 5 different countries in 5 different continents.
Wow.
I mean, because we could at that time. Hoping against hope that one of the doctors would say, don't worry, it's not that. They're going to grow out of it. But within our hearts, we knew it was what it was. But the moment somebody pronounces medically that your child is autistic, it's like being hit by a ton of bricks. You don't know where to go. And when you factor in there are 2 people in a relationship, each is going through that grieving process. They're shocked. So, and I tell you, Andrew, my husband and I didn't speak with each other for 6 months since the diagnosis because we didn't know what to say. And part of us was, I think, I was thinking, it is genetic. I mean, I used to be a scientist, so your brain goes there and says, what's the cause for this? And then, it is genetic, probably genetic. And I'm sure the genes came from his side of the family. And so there's that blame because what do we do when we are faced with a problem that we can't solve? We find a scapegoat, right? So there's that. And I do wish at that point in time, there was somebody who could sit us, the 2 of us down and talk to us and just listen to us and how difficult life was, what sorrow we are going through, and but there wasn't anybody. People didn't understand. At the best, they were sympathetic, but nobody really understood. So that's what I'm trying to do. So I've retrained myself as a counselor after coming here. And my speciality is supporting parents who are caring for and bringing up children or young adults with a disability. And this diagnosis of the child or children really has a great impact on the relationship. In fact, more than 80% of the partners separate after a diagnosis. Wow. It's that powerful. It's that hurtful because, and I do wish somebody was there or is there for them to say, okay, let's reassess.
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Because the disability is not going to go away. Let's regroup. Let's attend to our own personal needs. But we are time poor in this life.
Yeah. What are your hopes for your boys? What are your hopes for their future? What would be a good outcome in your heart?
Well, the short answer is a good outcome is if I have given them food 3 meals a day and I see their happy faces and I kiss them goodnight and say their prayers with them and they have a good night's sleep, and I'm telling you a good night's sleep and the following day is a good day because most of our children on the spectrum don't sleep well.
Yeah.
But in the long run, I would love them to lead meaningful lives. Whether they have a disability or not, I would like them to contribute in some positive way to our community, to the fellow man. And I think my boys are doing that in their small way. Because when Indika starts singing, people cry.
Yeah.
Because he really touches people's hearts. And he does that out of the pure joy of, for him, it's singing. And my older boy, he's very attentive to whoever comes to the library because that's his fellow kith and kin. Anybody coming to the library, he's happy. And but one day at a time.
Yeah.
And yes, of course, we make plans. And right now at Disability Connect, we are helping parents with what we call succession planning.
Yeah.
Because the biggest question in my mind and my worry is what will happen when I'm no longer here.
That's a big question, and I suppose part of the challenge of this, because there is a joy and a delight, and there's something very positive about the childlikeness of some people with autism that I think brings positive things to society.
Yes, very much.
But in some ways, they will never grow up.
No.
And for your youngest boy, Indika in particular, he's going to need care and support long after you've gone.
Yes.
And that must weigh heavily on you.
It does. It really, really does. Actually, my counselor training helped a lot.
Yeah.
It does help to stop me spiraling down that train of thought. But I do know of a lot of parents. For every parent, it is the worry.
Yeah.
But I think what we can do is to really be honest with ourselves, take stock of where we are, what age they are, whether it's the chronological age or the age of capacity, I would like to call it.
Yeah.
And then make some plans. And right now at Disability Connect, we just finished a series of workshops with 3 wonderful people who came to talk to parents about succession planning.
Okay.
So being very honest and taking stock and the legal ramifications and advocacy, and then bringing the last session was to bring all these experts together and for parents to ask their personal questions and try and get their head wrapped around where to go, because it's an emotional place to be. It's the best way to explain it is it's like a chronic sorrow that you live. So there is a burden there that is forever with you. It's
a grief,
never going to go away.
Like a grief that never heals.
It is.
Yeah.
It is a grief that never heals. And then you have to somehow suppress that. And that suppression takes a humongous amount of energy. So
what keeps you going? Where do you find your hope?
My boys.
Yeah.
I would go away to work or they would go to their various things, and the moment they come back home, it's like a lifting of my heart.
Wow.
They bring me joy. They do. It's not to say I climb the wall time to time and scream my head off.
Yeah.
Because there was a time when my younger boy used to smear feces on the walls. This is the reality, and there are. I actually think my life is easier compared to some of the parents who are taking care of the kids who have complex needs. So
Thank you so much for sharing your journey and your life with us. Firstly, just wanting to say, for people who are listening and who are watching this at the moment, they may know people in their family, in their church community who are in this situation, who have children or adult children who have a disability of some sort. How can we help? How can we come alongside?
A lot of family people who are afraid. Because they don't know whether whatever they say might hurt. It doesn't. So
Yeah.
just reach out in whichever the form or way that you can.
Yeah.
And whatever the language you use, if your intent is that of supporting and helping and coming from a good place, that'll immediately be transferred to the person listening.
Yeah.
So they will not refuse, but they're just listening sometimes, just being there. But I have noticed that, including myself, we tend to be secluded simply because our story is too big to tell.
Yeah.
And there used to be a time when if somebody was nice to me, I just couldn't stop crying.
No.
So it's a give and take. It's just going by your intuition and saying, what does this family need? But just letting them know you're there in whichever the way or form,
Yeah.
and for them to reach out to you and just keep checking in. And maybe they could support in other ways, like, could we give you a ride?
Yeah.
Because that's a very difficult thing to do. Transport is a big issue.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, just my word is dignity. Because along this journey, I have felt like my children do not get that dignity that a normal, my younger boy is 30 years old.
Yeah.
But somewhere down the track, there's a lot of sympathy. There is a lot of pity. But I suppose it's that person's or their way of understanding what they feel about when they see a person with a disability.
Yeah.
But that's not what we want. We would, as a community of people, parents bringing up children with a disability, we would welcome people telling us, hey, we are here. We would like to offer our support. We can bring our children for a play date.
Yeah.
Because friendship it's a very lonely place, Andrew.
Yeah.
Both for the parents as well as the people on the spectrum, it's a very lonely place. So the more friendship there is, the more hands that extend and say, like, genuinely, we want to help. We don't know. Just tell us what to do. And just being genuine.
I love that idea of dignity rather than sympathy, of being genuine, of being sincere, of showing up. And so much can be done in that space. Yeah.
Because each of us, even my younger boy who can't articulate what he feels like, he feels when he's treated with respect and kindness, as opposed to talked down to, which happens all the time, even without some people meaning to.
Just finally, there will also be people who are listening to this that connect with your story in some way, that for them and for their children, life hasn't turned out the way that they thought, and find it difficult to get the support that they need, find it difficult to hold on to hope that things can be better. As you say, that we have systems, we have structures in New Zealand that are better than some parts of the world, but there are still many people out there who are falling between the cracks, who don't know where to look. What's the first step for somebody who finds himself in that space? What would you recommend?
There are many organizations, many disability-friendly organizations that give out disability information. Disability Connect, which I work for, is one of them. So reach out to us.
Yep.
And you will find us. If you Google Disability Connect, you will find all the information there.
Yeah.
We do seminars. Quite recently, like a couple of days ago, we've done our annual survey, and we've asked what sort of seminars or workshops that the population would like us to concentrate on.
Yeah.
And so we've got feedback that says relationships, succession planning, and we once a year we hold this really big expo where we gather all the people out there. It's in September, the first week of September, and it is a wonderful event that has been going on for more than 15 years. And each year, the number of people who in the community who work with people with disabilities are getting more and more. So it's a good place to come to meet what's out there in the community and what's out there for people who leave school, which is like a big vacuum.
Yeah.
Because when they're in school, Andrew, there is support.
Yep.
The parents feel kind of sorted and settled. But the moment they leave school, that's when a lot of problems start.
Yeah.
Because you don't know where to go. Everybody has to have their life sorted, so to speak.
Yeah.
And there's a time in our lives that we work.
Yeah.
And I would like to reframe it as a meaningful life. So it doesn't necessarily need to be earning money, although that is really good. Whether you're volunteering, whether you're engaged in something else, but still a life that is meaningful to you and that you're contributing to the society in some way.
Now, joining me in the studio is her sons that we've been talking about, Sasanka and Indika. Thank you very much for being on the program with me today.
No problem, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew, with us.
Now, can you tell me about yourself? Your mum has told me a little bit about you and what she loves about you, but Sasanka, can we start with you? Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm a 30-year-old adult with neurodivergence.
Yeah.
I'd like to put it that way.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
I guess I fall on the autistic spectrum under the current standards.
Yeah.
But that doesn't truly define me.
Yeah.
It's just a facet of myself that is pretty prevalent.
Yeah.
What I'd like to say is that I've got very many interests, many things that I'd love to do, many dreams that I'd like to aspire to do. So I'm feeling pretty fulfilled at the moment with my current job because it relates to some of my hobbies, which is just reading in general. And I'm currently a librarian, part-time librarian at I think Highland Park Libraries.
Yep.
So
what makes you happy? What brings you joy, Sasanka?
Just finding out new information, nature documentaries, playing video games.
Yeah.
Reading new articles, just information and knowledge in general.
Yeah.
But also like learning how I can help others. I mean, caring has become second nature to me after living with my brother for so long.
Yeah.
And I'm well aware that community, like helping the community wherever you live, is really important.
Talk to us about your mum. I mean, she's talked a bit about you guys. Tell us about your mum. She's a special lady.
Yeah, she's had many challenges, many ups and downs with us growing up. At first, she didn't really think I was like on the spectrum to begin with, but after a while, she kind of suspected it at like primary school or intermediate. But she's a really passionate person. She puts 100% of herself into whatever she believes is correct. And like her passion projects are what she really wants to make deliverable and meaningful.
Yeah.
She wouldn't go for a project that she thinks is simply a project. She would really just look at her agenda, whether it aligns with her beliefs and the things that she wants to support. And most of all, she's a diehard supporter of the disability community in Auckland, in whatever way possible, she spent years and years trying to help parents and children navigate their way in New Zealand's both medical and education system.
Mm.
Sometimes to her detriment, with all the stress and bureaucracy.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think she feels fulfilled doing her job at the moment. It wasn't what she planned, but it's what's kind of landed on her lap, and she's taken to it like a duck to water.
Mm. One thing that I sincerely believe is that as a community, as a society, we are richer, we are better off because of people who could be described broadly as neurally diverse. What's one thing about neurally diverse people that you wish that more people understood?
The idea, people find it hard to think of something as different. Neurodiverse conditions are traditionally what have been thought of as being invisible disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, people can understand disability as being pretty much physical. So people in wheelchairs, people with missing limbs. It's a lot harder for them to understand that there's a difference between mental illness and neurodivergence. For a lot of people, they conflagrate the two with some degree of truth in it. Sometimes they're kind of together in some ways, but not always.
Mm-hmm.
It just means that if you've met someone that is neurodivergent, it means they're one person on a spectrum of different scales of ability.
Yeah.
What I wish people would understand is that it doesn't mean that they're incompetent at life or that they are truly taking a lot of resources that really isn't beneficial to everyone else in society. They're people.
Yeah.
They have their own skills and they have their own talents. It's simply that they need a lot of time to be nurtured, and they need an environment that is conducive to allowing them to learn and show that talent to shine and help the community that they live in. It takes a village to teach a child. For a person with neurodivergence, it takes that and more.
Yeah. So Sangha, very well said. Thank you for joining me, for being part of the conversation. Endika, thank you for being in the Rhema studio with me. Thank you for the gifts that you bring with
Thank you, Andrew.
with your voice. What are the things that you love to do? What are things that you enjoy doing, Endika?
I love the things to do, enjoy. Going to the Mapura Music Studios with Jay and Asoka.
Yeah.
I like to play, I really enjoy, and I had fun. So I play the guitars, drums, and I play the xylophone.
Wow. You enjoy music?
I enjoyed listening. Well, I enjoyed singing.
Yeah. I've heard you sing before. You've sung a Harry Belafonte song to me. Who are your favourite singers, Endika?
My favourite singer is Johnny Mathis, When a Child is Born.
Oh yes, sorry, I got that one wrong. You're more of an expert than me. Johnny Mathis. Yeah, it's a beautiful song. Yeah. Thank you for taking the time, and thank you for sharing your family and sharing your story with us today. A beautiful family, and as I say, our community so much richer. Thank you for the support that you are to each other, and for taking the time to be with us today.
I really enjoy.
If people wanted to find out more, disabilityconnect.org.nz. And hey, this week when we are commemorating International Day of People with Disabilities, no better time perhaps to check out those resources and to look for ways to support families with people with disability in your community. Asoka, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Andrew. And also, if you're happy to contribute in some way, we have you can make a donation to Disability Connect or some other disability connected organization of your choice. So that will be much appreciated.
Recommend
you can come and volunteer.
Exactly. And something we're talking about on our program at the moment is as we head towards Christmas, let's find a way to make charitable giving a part of our celebration of the Christmas season.
That would be much appreciated.
That would be fantastic. So,
thank you so very much.
disabilityconnect.org.nz. Once again, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Pleasure.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.